Robert Englund, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Have you had a morning full of doing the Freddy impressions?
Well, I've been lucky because I've been talking about another project, and I've only had to do one or two IDs. I'm fine with the first couple, but whenever I play Freddy in the movies, I usually only have one line a day, maybe, and I don't do it a lot, so I don't make my voice hoarse. But when I'm doing a radio tour, I get a lot of requests for IDs, and by the end of the radio tour, I'm a little hoarse.
Well, I think I might be the last one of your radio tour, so at the end of it, I might ask you for an ID because it'll be your last one. Is that okay?
I've got a little bit of voice left.
Speaking of your new project, this is the big Blumhouse Compendium series that's on Epix right now. Tell us about that show.
Well, I just got back from a film festival in Spain, and I did this voiceover, my narration, earlier this year, and I'm so happy to be working for Blumhouse. This guy is completely reinvigorating horror films, and from Get Out on. But I hadn't seen any of the images or any of the interviews that I was talking about in my narration. I was just concerned with timing out my narration so it would fit in the sequences they needed it for. And that was my burden. So now that I'm back, I've been binging at home here on Epix, the Blumhouse Compendium of Horror, and I just finished the 70s segment last night. But it's so terrific, and I got to tell you, these research guys that Blumhouse hired, they did an unbelievable deep dive. They went down the rabbit hole, and they found images from movies that we've seen a lot of stuff from, whether it's Rosemary's Baby or whether it's The Exorcist, all the way back to silent horror films. And I've never seen any. There's so much I haven't seen, and I know about this stuff. And they've just really focused on some great important stuff, and they sort of break down the shift and the change and the evolution of horror. As society changes, so does horror. And I'm just really proud to be part of this project. They really had a great team working on it.
And it goes all the way back to the very beginnings of horror, both in film and, well, I guess film would have been the first, and then, when TV came in. So it goes back to the very beginnings, like with Frankenstein, the Wolfman and stuff. Do you have a personal favorite classic horror monster from that very early era? Or what was the first, thing that you remember being scared of in movies and TV?
Well, I think the first movie, that really got me was a atomic radiation Cold War movie from 1954 called Them.
I remember that one, yeah.
The Giant Ants with James Whitmore, and it's black and white, and it's documentary style, kind of cinema verite. And as a kid, I couldn't distinguish between, like news photography and that kind of style, that documentary style. So it really hooked me. And it was shot all around L.A. on location, and a great sound effect for the giant ants. And I really love that movie. And I found out from doing the Blumhouse project that, in fact, it was up for an Oscar for special effects against another movie that I love, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I had saw both of those, I think, in the same year. But so that movie as a child really got to me, and I really liked Bride of Frankenstein. I saw that on the Late Late Show on a sleepover, in my old Sears sleeping bag with the flannel lining and the picture of the hunters shooting the geese on it and eating some cold popcorn. And my friends and I watched that, and that really got to us. There was something about Bride of Frankenstein that was strange and sad and creepy and scary. The original Frankenstein as well. And then later on, movies like The Descent really worked on me. Brian De Palma's Sisters had some great scares I didn't see coming. Obviously, The Exorcist, and just the great filmmaking of Rosemary's Baby.
I was thinking, because I'm just looking at like my youngest daughter when she was 2 or 3, and we'd go into the big stores like Target or whatever. and it would be Halloween time, and they'd have these big, sometimes actually kind of scary decorations for people's houses. A lot of kids would see those and run away, and my daughter was always like, "Oh, I love it, and I want to push the buttons, and I want to make it yell at me, and rah rah rah." She liked that kind of thing. So it's like some people really enjoy the concept of being scared or scary things, and some people are really freaked out about it. Are you the one of those that really just gets it? Do you like being scared, or does it not scare you? You just like the concept of horror?
I like the fact that they're all use the imagination. They're allowed to exploit the imagination and the imagination of the filmmakers that are making them. So you see this fantasy, surrealistic landscape in a lot of horror movies, and you see them work with mood and lighting and music, and it seems to me to be one of the genres that really gets to use almost the complete toolkit of movie making. And I think that's what I enjoy about it, because you really get to go into these other worlds, whether it's science fiction or fantasy or horror.
Every genre of movies has, some lower end productions that are just kind of out there, and then you really top end stuff. And a lot of horror movies transition more to, instead of being really scary themes throughout, it was a lot of more jump scares and startling, but I didn't find it scary personally. It was just a surprise kind of thing. Have you seen movies recently that you think are really carrying the genre forward and doing? I mean, you mentioned Get Out. That was great. I thought The Purge did something new and original that was really cool. What are you seeing in the future?
Get Out. I hear this movie Barbarian is great. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been told it's just terrific. Justin Long stars in that. 28 Days Later, the zombie movie. I love that. There were. A film I just saw that I'm telling everybody about. I was at this film festival in Slovenia, and I saw this film from Finland. And you have to read subtitles, but I tell everybody it's a terrific film. It's very fresh. You've never seen anything like it. It's, I guess, if you have to give it a trope or a gimmick, it's the mother, the suburban mother from hell movie, But it's not Mommy Dearest, and it's not Stepford Wives. It's called Hatched or Hatching. It has two different titles that I've seen, and you can see it now. You can find it, on demand, or you can find it, looking for it on streaming services. Use your little microphone on your remote control. It's either Hatched or Hatching, or The Hatched or Hatching. But it's great, and the performance by the actress playing the mother and the young girl playing the daughter are just incredible. It's unlike anything I've seen. It's a combination of fantasy and horror. It's a debut film by a young woman director from Finland, and it's just incredible. I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend the 1974 film by Brian De Palma called Sisters, starring Margot Kidder, Lois Lane from Superman, and William Findlay in my favorite Mad Doctor role ever.
Oh, that sounds like a good one. I'm going to have to look up that Hatched one as well. You mentioned Justin Long a second ago. Did you see his movie, I believe it was The Walrus?
Yeah. Oh, no, listen, Justin is terrific. And you can use him a lot of ways. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Barbarian.
I want to see that one too, but I was watching my oldest daughter, another one of my daughters that loves horror stuff, was like, you have to see this Walrus movie. I haven't seen it all the way through, and I can't watch it all the way through. It keeps freaking me out. And part of it, it's true. Part of it's really freaky, and part of it's where like you're supposed to laugh at the absurdity of the whole thing. And I think The Walrus and like Tucker and Dale versus Evil did a really cool twist where you could laugh and be scared at the same time. It's a strange feeling.
Well, Wes Craven and Sam Raimi both exploit that really well, and I think there's a place for it. If you let the audience laugh, if you can control them and let them laugh, it's easier to set them up for the next scare. And if you have a character that's skeptical or cynical, like a Justin Long or a Ryan Reynolds or somebody like that, and they're commenting a bit on the reality or the ludicrousness of the reality at the moment, and then you laugh a little with them, then it's easier to scare that audience again, because they've released that tension. They released whatever tension they've had, and you can rebuild it. Because if you just have nothing but unrelenting horror, nonstop. What you can risk having the audience laugh at you instead of with you.
You are actually a really, really great. You've got great comedic timing, especially in doing the horror stuff that you've done. But just as an actor in general, comedic timing. When you were doing some of the Elm Street movies, was there ever times where you're trying to do something serious or trying to do something scary, and you guys are just laughing about something that happened on set behind the scenes, and you can't get through it? Because it seems like you've got to be able to laugh on the horror movie sets.
Yeah, there's a lot. Listen, more than any other kind of film, there's a lot of joking around on a horror set because you're doing all these effects and all these elements. And I mean, literally, I'm walking sometimes, and I'm trying to be cool and scary and keep the light in my eyes. And I've got tubes going up my leg and around my underwear and taped to my butt. And to put air in goat bladders to make my head expand, or my chest of souls animate, animatronic, and there's 2 or 3 guys, that look like guys that work on the Muppets, dressed in black turtlenecks and black Levi's and black Adidas, crawling around on the ground, because they're running the remote controls that are going up my butt, and there I am trying to, look cool. And you have to joke, you have to kid around and get that out so that when they say action, you can find something to believe in or something to focus on, so that you can do what you're paid to do.
I love it. I got to go to Universal Studios in Orlando. Does a great Halloween thing every year, Halloween Horror Nights. This year they have like 10 houses. One of them is actually a Blumhouse haunted house. It's all the Blumhouse movies that you get to walk through. Another one is a Halloween house with Michael Myers around every corner. They've made dozens and dozens of Nightmare on Elm Street themed haunted houses. Have you ever got to put Freddy on and go to one of those haunted houses and do like cameo, scare people for fun?
I actually hosted the Universal Studios Orlando Horror Halloween one year, and I got to do a great promo using the Psycho House.
Oh,
on
yeah.
their back lot there, which was great. We duplicated the entrance of Vera Miles to the Psycho House, for an ad for Universal Horror Nights. But I've never done Freddy for Halloween. I did it once at the famous New York City Greenwich Village Halloween parade. And it was a very cold night, and over the Freddy outfit, I wore a great long Armani trench coat that I borrowed from one of the publicists. And we had from the High School of the Performing Arts, we had the drum team, like the step-up drum team, and we had them playing like a New Orleans funeral beat on the drums. And we were hyping, I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, but we were part of the parade, and we practically took over the parade. But it got a little hairy, because people started leaving the police line and joining our entourage and our part of the parade. And I finally said, we got to get out of the parade. We got to go back to the limousine and, take this makeup off because we're starting to throw the parade out of balance. But when we left the parade to go to the car, half the parade followed us. It got a little crazy. So I think that was the year I decided to sort of cease and desist Freddy's Halloween appearances, and that was a long time ago. So you can imagine what it would be like now.
Yeah, it had to have been a long time. I know that the Psycho House, at least here at the Universal lot, isn't there anymore, which is sad because I would have loved to see that one. But the original's still in L.A., so that's good.
Yeah.
Robert, thank you so much for your time today. Big fan. Love the Nightmare films. Do you and Johnny Depp get to hang out? Does he ever call you up and go like, you know what, let's just go have some fun?
No, I haven't seen Johnny in years and years and years. I had just been in Europe, and Johnny had a little art movie playing over there, and it was a huge hit. He was on the side of the buses in Piccadilly Circus, and I saw big billboards, and the movie was a hit there. I can't remember what movie it was, but I came back, and I was on a commercial audition and stuck in rush hour, and I went to the old Coronet Theater pub on La Cienega, and I went in and I was having an Irish whiskey and waiting for rush hour to be over before I went home. And Johnny was in there. I think maybe it was just before or right around the time Viper Club opened. He was with a musician. And that's the last time I saw him. But I remember telling him that movie, he was a little disappointed because the movie wasn't doing well in the States. I remember telling him that it was huge in Europe. and he might have used that to as a sort of encouragement, because that's when I think he went over to live in France for a couple of years, and I understand he was really happy at that point in his life. I just really wish him well, because Johnny's the real thing. He's really a good actor, but I think he may have returned to his initial love, his first love, which is music right now. I think he's sort of absorbed in his music again.
Yeah, and he seems like he's got some definite talent behind him. But if I was you, I'd be like, I kind of helped launch his career. Just, take a little credit there.
Oh, no. I'll tell you something. My girlfriend was going to Yale then, and she had discovered several really good actors at Yale who are stars now. And she went with me to do a makeup test or a wardrobe test or a fitting or something at the old Desilu for Nightmare on Elm Street, and they were still casting. And she got a glimpse of Johnny, and she said, that guy's going to be a star. And she has a really good eye. Some of the people that she discovered at Yale are just part of the American culture now. And so people knew. People knew back then he was something special. He was very polite, and he was sort of like rockabilly style. That was sort of his look back then. But I understand Wes Craven's daughter told her dad, if you don't cast him, I'm leaving home.
I can see that too. Robert Englund, the one and only Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, and the Compendium of Horror from Blumhouse is out on Epix right now, which you are sort of the narrator and host. Thank you so much for your time today, my friend. Big fan. Have a great rest of your Halloween month.
Okay, trick or treat, everybody.